Oh, 1, 2.
Hello out there in YouTube land, Rival here. Thanks for stopping by. Got a bunch of things on the turntable for you guys this week. For those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, you definitely should. If you do, some of this stuff is going to look familiar to you. I actually did a series of work in progress pics on Instagram featuring the lock bar stabilizers we're going to look at. So yeah, hit me up, Rival Knives, or at Rival Knives on Instagram, RIVALKNIVES. Lots of fun stuff up there. Okay, so what you've got here is some copper niobium superconductor. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a material. It usually comes in discs about 2.5 inches in diameter. It's usually from heavy industrial equipment. It's if you Google superconductor, you're going to get a lot more information than I can give you in a short amount of time. But basically, it's a highly conductive material that allows for pretty much perfect zero conductivity. If you can, supercool it to like 9.2 Kelvin, it's only like negative 400 degrees. But there's a lot of practical applications in industrial and medical MRIs and nuclear and all kinds of other applications. So when some of this stuff gets reclaimed or recycled, some of this material comes up for grabs, and it is pretty freaking sweet looking. A lot of knife makers have been using it, and I got my hands on some to have some fun with. So the first thing I did, and this is my first full bolster, traditional style anyways, so, go big or go home, right? But this is superconductor, copper niobium superconductor, so it's copper with niobium on the inside of it, all those filaments. It has got a nice hand satin rub on it, so it looks just beautiful. Now, being copper, it is going to be prone to scratching over time. It's a softer metal than steel. It's also going to patina. So the more this knife gets carried, the cooler that's actually going to end up looking. And then I've got lightning strike carbon fiber for the scale. With that bronze wire going through it, it really kind of matches in with that superconductor. At least I thought so anyways. And yes, you can see something different on the blade. So this was an 0560. This was my original 0560, the very first one I ever bought. The one that has been the model for probably about 100 or so scales. So she's pretty much being retired. Spruced her up and gave her an Eclipse grind. It's modeled after the Hinderer Eclipse model. There you go. So she's still got the drop point on her belly, but she's got a much bigger clip at the front, and then that nice bit of belly. And then you can see I ground a choil in her too. So she is really primed for doing some belly cutting and all kinds of fun stuff. And then from the same piece of superconductor that this came from, we've got this over travel stop to match. Now, this material is not cheap. Get my hands on it, and a lot of guys have been working with it a lot lately, so you've probably seen a lot of it, but you usually only see them in pretty high-end pieces. I mean, just a small chunk of superconductor is going to cost you $120 plus, depending on how thick you need it cut. And that's just for the raw material. That doesn't include working with it, cutting it, turning it into what you need to turn it into. So, when you get quotes about this stuff, or when you reach out to myself or others, just kind of keep that in mind. Scared off a few people before we found some folks that were interested in diving in, and that leads me to the next project, which came about completely on Instagram. I had posted this and had done some shots of the front, some shots of the back. Actually, we'll leave this open for you guys just so you can see how beautiful that is. And one of the folks saw the lock bar stabilizer and asked if I could do some for other knives. Now, the LBSs that ZT uses are the same size that Hinderer uses, are the same size that Strider uses, so they're pretty much universal. So I gathered up enough names to justify being able to make or buy some discs superconductor, and that's where this stuff came about. So here is the first of my run. I'm doing 24 of these total. 16 are already pre-sold. Here's what the lock bar stabilizer ends up looking like, though. And they all are going to have a slightly different pattern. Some are going to have more copper, some are going to have less copper, some might have larger filaments. This is 440 filament. This is actually 80 filament. So the patterns vary, and the patterns will also vary depending on the application that the superconductor came from. So, but yeah, that's the lock bar stabilizer. So they're gonna come. You can see here. I'll grab just a couple, just so you can see the difference in their pattern. There you go, guys. Trying to get you some good looks. But anyways, each one will come with its own certificate of authenticity, birth date, with all the deets about what type of superconductor it is. So these are all made by hand in my shop. Like I said, I've got some work in progress pics posted up on my Instagram page at Rival Knives. But yeah, also, you know, jump on. Whoops, sorry guys. Jump on Instagram if you're interested in snagging some. Like I said, 16 are sold out already. I'm doing a total run of 24. That leaves 8 slots left. And I'm going to post them on Instagram when they're available. So if you want them, jump on Instagram, give me a follow over there. I appreciate your support here. Yeah, I got more projects in the works, more some customs, and more scale. So thanks for stopping by. Peace.